Right, quick update on Dogecoin. So in this video, I'm going to be looking at Dogecoin versus the US dollar like I normally do. And then to wrap this video up, we're going to be checking out the valuation of Dogecoin against Bitcoin and seeing, is Dogecoin still outperforming Bitcoin or have things changed? Let's jump right into the video. First of all, let's talk about the Dogecoin USD chart. I believe we talked about this yesterday in the live stream, but I'll just make a quick mock-up for those of you who missed the live stream. So coming over to the weekly timeframes, we'll work our way down. You can see past couple of weeks, it does seem like we are having an influx of bearish volume, and typically when you see an increase in bearish volume, like when you zoom out, you can see influx of bearish volume here. This means that, you know, the dump wasn't done until you see bullish volume coming in, and once again you can see, you know, bearish volume coming in here as you're rolling down. It's always indicative that you've got more to move down if the volume is exponentially increasing. Zooming out as well, what I really want to show you is this is your macro 786. You know, I drew it conservatively to the candle body close. If I drew it all the way up to the wick, it would be miles away. But even when I give Dogecoin the benefit of the doubt and draw it to the candle body close, you can see we've massively capitulated below your 786. These were your lows as well down on this wick. You've now capitulated below the lows, and also daily time frame, you can see this very clearly. We were in a asymmetrical triangle and we have broken to the downside of it. If we do extrapolate this price target, you can actually see we've already hit this price target, and we're kind of just chilling around where we previously came down to this target. But as we have taken out the 786 fib and zooming in, you can see these were the lows, or these were the highs right here before you move down to this green box. And this green box is really the accumulation range that we had before we went on a huge rally. So extrapolating this over, you can see this is going to be a big area that we could potentially bounce and find support from. Also zooming out, you can also see this big red trend line. We are technically above it at this moment in time, so let's mark this green as a potential area where we could bounce from if we do come down to these levels. Now for Dogecoin, it is very evident in my opinion, there's tons of bearish volume in the past week that's stepping in, and this is why we're seeing an influx of volume. It's kind of hard to see, you know, that this is quite flat, but it's really flat because previously there was so much volume coming on in Dogecoin. So ever since then, the volume looks really mundane and dinky, even though it is actually some pretty big volume. It just doesn't do it justice because of the crazy volume that we saw all the way back here. So coming into the daily, it does seem like at this moment in time we're having a dead cat bounce. I imagine on the 4 hour we could potentially see this a lot better, but in my opinion this looks like a bear flag as we've broken down into it, and you can see it's a textbook bear flag, and it already looks like we've fallen out of this bear flag. And in my opinion, this would be taking us all the way down to between 4 and 5 cents. That sounds like a pretty brutal price target, but you look at Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is breaking down from this triangle pattern, and this reminds me exactly of what we saw over in 2017 before the bear market. We've had that first move down, we've had the first wick down, and you can also see it's been bought up by a lot of buying volume, a lot of greed still entering the market even though we're exceptionally bearish. Reminds me exactly of what we're seeing right now, and I think something like this is going to happen in the next couple of weeks. I don't think we're going to go much further down, but I do think we are about to see a nasty capitulation for Bitcoin, which is probably going to mean that Bitcoin is going to massively outperform the altcoins, just like it did back here in 2017. That's what we're going to talk about in the end when we do hop over to that very important chart. Now, you can see the daily squeeze bomb is trying to have a little bit of a bullish flip. I wouldn't really be too worried about it. You can see, you know, the last couple of rabbit holes that we've had to the upside were really just retests of your EMA ribbons that all ended up being unsuccessful, and every single time you can see after the retest you come back down and you just make new lows after every single retest. So after this rejection of this retest, it makes complete sense. It follows the data that we've previously done, and I would not be surprised whatsoever if Dogecoin does come down to these lower levels. This is, like I said, what I'm personally predicting for Dogecoin at this moment in time. I think Dogecoin at least has another 45%, 45.41% to go to the downside in my opinion. You can also see this would nicely line us up with a potential bounce from the trend line. You know, if we zoom out, you can see this big trend line has been in place for a very long period of time. I wonder if we extrapolate it that it could actually go further, but let's see. You definitely could argue something like this, especially as we back tested it and we held it for 2 weeks and then you're coming back to it. I'm personally going to keep it like this. Not that it changes the price target, not that it changes anything. I just think sometimes it's interesting to extrapolate trend lines back and see how far they can actually go and how much support you would have coming down to them. I do think at least if we do capitulate, we would be having like a dead cat bounce before we do potentially go lower for Dogecoin, but at least in the shorter time frames, I think 45.5% drop to the downside is very likely. The selling volume indicates that's what we're going to do. The EMA ribbons that we're miles away from and we keep on retesting and getting rejected on agree with me on that one, and the bear flag that we're in also agrees with me as we've just broken down from this. And I don't even think that there's really any way that you can draw this and argue that we would still be in it. I mean, if you are drawing it like this, then if we keep on breaking down, are you just going to keep on moving it and moving it and moving it and moving it? I think drawing this from the best line of fit, which is what I've done here, is very clear. The only other way I would even remotely consider drawing it is something like this, and potentially, you know, I wouldn't even want to draw it like that. There's way less touch points. It makes sense to draw it from the most amount of touch points, and that's what we've got here. We've clearly broken down from it. I do think next week we are going to see something like this. If I'm wrong on that, I would imagine this would be coming in the next month, because I wouldn't be surprised if we came back up, came to 34,000 to shake out the bears rather, and then we shake out the bulls by coming down to 22,000 on Bitcoin. And like I said, that would very much be indicative that all the altcoins are going to get wrecked against their Bitcoin pairs. So Dogecoin against the US dollar looks bearish in my opinion. I hate to say it, I'm a crypto YouTube channel. I want more than no one for every altcoin, every crypto to be bullish. It means I get more views on my channel, more subs, more likes. But by me being honest, by me not shilling BS data, by me not having my mouth open saying I'm going all in on Dogecoin, this is the bottom, reversal coming, 100x coming, it means I get less views, less likes. But I don't mind. I'm here to be honest. I'm here to portray the data that I see on the screen, and I say it how it is. I'm a straight shooter, so it looks like we're bearish. There's no other way to draw it. I could, and like I said, I'm giving Doge the benefit of the doubt. I could have drawn it from this, and you know, I definitely can draw it from here as well. This is exceptionally valid, and you can see even if I draw it from here, we're 1,000,001 miles away from your Fibonacci's. And when I draw it from the conservative, like here, you're a little bit closer to them, but you very much had a very nasty rejection from them. I think Dogecoin USD is going to move down 45%, and as I promised in the start of this video, I want to provide a different perspective on the market, and I really think that a lot of altcoin holders should be looking against the altcoin BTC pairs, because you know, if you're only looking at your altcoin's valuation against the US dollar, then you're definitely missing something. By picking up an altcoin, you're taking on a ton of extra risk, and I understand it. You're hoping to get extra risk to reward. That is the whole point of buying altcoins. You hope that you get a better reward than what you would otherwise get in Bitcoin. I completely understand, but that only makes sense if your altcoin is outperforming Bitcoin. If your altcoin is not outperforming Bitcoin, then there is no point in holding your altcoin. So let's jump into the Dogecoin BTC pair and see if Dogecoin is holding up against Bitcoin. Well, from a technical perspective, we are still above your 786 Fibonacci, so that does mean that the trend is still technically valid. But in my opinion, we're very clearly bearish. You know, we've got a blow off top here. This was a very clear blow off top. You broke down, rejected from the 382 fib, broke down again, rejected from the 0.5 fib, broke down again, rejected from the 618 fib, and now we're coming down to the 786, and we're kind of lollygagging right now. We're really just trending sideways since November for the past couple of months. We've got a lot of consolidation within this range, and in my opinion that means that when we do break out, if we break up or we break down, we're going to have a massive move. Dogecoin against BTC as well, you can see we're getting rejected from the 200-day. In my opinion, that's a telltale sign that we're about to break down. You've also got this head and shoulders pattern. It looks like the price target of this was already hit, but we will just take it anyway. You can see first of all, let's get floor. Let's say that best defines what happened from here to here. you can see that the breakdown would actually take us, no, we haven't reached it yet, the breakdown of this would actually take us down to here. And in my opinion, that is going to happen. I think we're going to move down a lot further on the Dogecoin BTC pair. Unfortunately, if we do close a weekly candle below your 786, which is coming in at 248 on the Dogecoin BTC pair, that would mean that I think Dogecoin would be losing a lot of its valuation against Bitcoin, and we could potentially see a move back down to the lows of this accumulation range before we see any type of a bounce. So let me mark this green for support. In my opinion, this is where Dogecoin is heading. If we head down very fast in the next week, you might actually see that we might not make it all the way. We might come down to 134, we might bounce up to the 786, and then we might come back down. I would not be surprised if the altcoins get absolutely chewed up and spat out during this market phase. Like I said, I'm not a macro bear, I'm a macro bull, but I'm looking at this data objectively, and it looks like we're about to have the same capitulation that we had in 2017. I was here in 2017, and I can tell you during this phase, Bitcoin is massively going to outperform altcoins. So does it make sense to hold Dogecoin? In my opinion, it doesn't make sense, because I'm looking at Dogecoin against the BTC pair, and we're very, very clearly in a massive downtrend. If you are looking for the tiny bit of hopium before I do wrap up this video, if you do see a flip like this above this trend line, we might see a bit of an uptrend. I don't think that's going to happen though. I do think these altcoins are going to get slaughtered against Bitcoin in the next week or so. I might be wrong. I do not have a crystal ball. I'm just looking at this from a probability perspective. I'm looking at the TA. I'm analyzing this, and it looks like not only is Dogecoin exceptionally bearish against the US dollar, it's very, very bearish against the USD, and this is probably going to be a leading indicator of what's going to happen on the BTC pair. Traditionally, or typically, if you see an altcoin USD pair capitulate below the 786, it's normally a warning sign that it's about to capitulate much harder against the USD, which also is a leading indicator which correlates to that altcoin's BTC pair. It's, in my opinion, like foreshadowing. The USD pair on Dogecoin is foreshadowing what is going to happen on the BTC pair. So in my opinion, Dogecoin is unfortunately probably going to capitulate about another 66.5% before we do see any sort of a bounce over on Dogecoin. Now if we come over to the daily, like I said, yeah, a move down to these levels is probably going to mean a big move to the downside. Looking at this on the weekly, looking at your oscillators, the price is heading down, the oscillators are heading down, so we're not even seeing any type of bullish divergence. It seems very clear cut in my opinion. The oscillator lines up with what the price is doing. The USD price is foreshadowing what's going to happen on the BTC price, and both the BTC and USD pair on both of these are exceptionally bearish in my opinion. We provided both 786s just to give you a tiny bit more hopium, drawing this from the candle body close and really letting you know that this is the level that we should hold, 291. But if we capitulate, this is your last line in the sand. And this breakdown, this was the head and shoulders that we just spotted, right? Yep, shoulder, head, shoulder. This breakdown would take us below the 786. So be very cautious on altcoins right now. Like I've been saying on my Twitter, I do think these altcoins are going to massively capitulate against their BTC pairs. I've been tweeting this for the past couple of days now. I've really been hammering it in. I said this then, I said this today, and I've been saying this for the past four days now. I've been saying looking at things objectively, altcoin holders are going to get slaughtered in my opinion. And since I posted that, the dollar's been bullish, Bitcoin has been bearish, and altcoins have been massively capitulated against. Be very careful entering these altcoin pairs at this moment in time. My trading plan. I'm going all in on Bitcoin because I believe that Bitcoin is going to heavily outperform the altcoins if we do capitulate. That's all I've got. I hope you found some value in this video. I hope you enjoyed looking at things from a different perspective, looking at the Dogecoin valuation through a different lens. As always, hope you found value in this. Cowboy out, not financial advice. Peace.